Hello, beautiful family. I enjoy the sound of rain. Somehow helps me stay in presence with less effort. It's like standing by the ocean or a running river. The more days I live in this world, the more experience I have of watching my mind and observing other people, the more apparent it is to me that we are living in a prison. And we can talk about that on many layers. You can talk about the physical restrictions. You can talk about the endless streams of entertainment that we are given. You can talk about the management of our municipalities, the government, who are supposed to be there to manage our sanitation, our roads, and nothing more. You can talk about the heinous prohibition on substances other than alcohol inside the Western society, inside many others as well, that say that these beautiful halos that we find in nature that can link our consciousness to something deeper are dangerous and illegal. You can talk about the endless industry of sex and the free pornography that seems to be unlimited online. You can talk about the spiritual prison, the temptations, the satanic temptations, if we want to label it that. But I want to explore the core of this, because all of them have a common denominator. All of those problems that restrict that which is the pursuit of freedom, the experience of freedom, has common ground. The more I observe, the more I see the common ground. And I want to try and walk you with me using my words, if I can, as this human talking to you who has seen something that's hard to define, and see if you can see this prison yourself and how it's affecting you and your life, how it's affecting the expression of the human being you are. And so the prison I am talking about is imagination. And often when we think of imagination, we think of fairy tales, whimsical lands, stories, children playing games. But we use imagination far more often than that. Only we've accepted the expression of our collective imagination as reality. And here begins the prison. And so, even the words I'm speaking are born from human imagination. They are concepts that the mind of man has created inside the imagination aspect of his brain, using the mind, to define, navigate, segregate the reality that we are living within. And this is a very useful tool, so long as you remember the original state of reality, your original state in reality, and don't get lost in the imagination. But society collectively, as well as the individual, the family, the community, the country, the planet, is often, most often, living lost in the imagination. And so let me try and walk you there with an idea that I've had. Imagine there's a new planet Earth somewhere else in the universe. And that planet is filled with wonder. different animals, vegetation, flowers, trees, meandering rivers, rolling mountains, beautiful blue skies, crisp white clouds, thunderstorms in the distance. All the majesty and beauty that Earth has to offer is on this second planet Earth. And all is going on. Animal life is going on, but there are no humans. So right now on that planet, out there in our cosmos, it's all happening. It's all going on, it's all going on. But there are no humans there with a language system to grab at it. They're not there to define it. It's just going on. It's just happening without judgment. No one's saying this is good, this is bad. No one's trying to control it. It's just going on. It's just happening. It's just going. It's all expressing itself as one unified expression of a second planet Earth. But then arrive humans. But these humans are not like the ones from this planet. Because these humans, they have their language system. But they have no experience of this planet. So they have no words for what they see. They have no judgments for what they see. They arrive and all they have is their senses, the ability to walk and move and speak, the use of their intelligence. But no language, none. And so there's no comparison, there's no judgment, there's no memory of this planet, so there's no experience. There's no knowledge that certain animals may be dangerous and thus justified as bad. None of that is present. They just arrive in a state of awareness. And in that state of awareness, that natural state of being, that state is peace and love. Now, as time progresses on this beautiful second planet, they start to need to tell one another things. And so they say, over there by these, what do we call them? Trees. Oh, okay, these are trees. Well, if there's many of them, it's a forest. So meet me over there by this forest that is filled up with individual trees. You say, okay, I've got it. That's the noise we make when you're referencing that you want to meet me there. That's the landmark's name. And so they begin to build upon the ongoing experience that has no definition, no defining, no judgment. And they begin to build upon it with their language. Now, as time goes on, they decide they need to cut down the trees because they need to build a shelter because it's rained on them. And they have used their intelligence to look around them and they have seen that this is a plentiful material, we can build with this. And so they cut down the tree. When they cut down the tree, they say, what do we call this that we're building our house with? And they say wood. They say, okay, this is wood. Now we've cut down the tree and it's a resource that we are using. The tree is now wood. And so they build a house. Now they're very close to that initial state of consciousness when they arrived on the planet, where they were just awareness of all that was, without any words, without any mind, because they had no words, they hadn't created any yet. But now they've gotten to the point where they have forest, tree and wood. And they carry on living. And of course these words didn't exist on this second planet until they imagined them, until they created them, to be able to navigate with their communication system, their linear start-stop communication system, the world around them, which when they arrived was not linear. It was all things It was everything. It was the eternal everything. It was the eternal stillness dancing as everything. And so, a few generations pass, and they continue using these words. But that initial awareness, which is peace and love, starts to become less felt. Because feeling that peace and awareness can only be felt when there's no language. It can only be felt in its vibrance, that truly aware state of alive when they first arrived on the planet. Is only felt in its purity without the words and language. And so 10 generations down the line, a switch goes off in one of these people. And when they are looking at this epic world around them, their companions are in awareness, and they are aware of the world, and so they feel a loving awareness for that which is around them. They feel the connectivity, they feel the participation in this epic ongoing oneness, because there's no words to separate them from it. There's no time inside that experience. And so they sense that in consciousness. But this one person has a switch flicked inside them. And now when they look at this epic environment and they see the trees, they only see wood. They no longer see the loving awareness of the reality. Because their brain, their imagined language system, has become so persistent that that particular person has lost track of that initial state of awareness. They've lost track of that initial arrival on the planet where they had no words and no experience and no memory. And so we're here now in that state of, wow, that awareness, that loving awareness. And now as they look around, they don't feel that. And so their connection to it is diminishing. And as they see a tree, they now see wood. Because they have a memory that this is a resource to build for me. Their reality's changed now. They no longer feel like a participant in something. Now they arrive in that participatory state, but due to the persistent imaginary words that they are using, now a tree is merely a resource for their usage. And so, as time goes on, the same story occurs. At the initial state of awareness, they start eating things because they have hunger. And someone eats something that makes them sick, and so judgment begins. And they define, based on the symbols and words they have, this plant is bad for me. And this is a fact, it's bad for them. But now the difference is that instead of coming into the initial awareness where all things you are lovingly aware of, now as you scan the environment with your loving awareness, you look at the plant that is bad for you and you judge it. And you say, all this is good except for that. And so with this addition of consciousness of our language system, and with the addition of memory working as it does, we begin to move from that initial arrival to Eden into the knowledge of duality, the knowledge of good and evil. And so the prison we are living in is our imagination. Many concepts are imaginary, and even inside the world of the spiritual pursuit, the spiritual path is an imagined path. Because the words, the concepts within there are born from imagination. And the deepest realization a human can have is that state of consciousness that those humans who arrived at this second planet were in on arrival. Before they constructed their language system and defined what was going on around them, and usefully so, that was the state, the acceptance. And in that state, there is a freedom. A freedom to elevate into a higher vibration where you become loving awareness. And it's as if to be born again, you must return to that, to Eden. Now the problem we have is we now have religions and spiritual paths, and these are all imagination. And so unless they can walk you back to Eden, you have another problem. Because we are imagining. Instead of nestling in the thought-free presence of God, the thought-free presence that is Eden, we are imagining a spiritual path. I must do this, I must do that, I must do this. And the more we imagine, the more we use words, and the more we end up separating from the truth. And so imagination has become our prison, because we are caught in our symbols. It would seem to myself, after investigating this, we are caught in our symbols, our words, which we have imagined. And therefore the source of all of the problems that we see, that we can deem as imprisonment, which I mentioned at the beginning, the mindless entertainment, etc., comes from the lack we feel by separating from the Eden state, the beingness, the light of silence, the eternal stillness, participating in the eternal stillness, dancing as everything. The lack inside us that comes from separating from that is what makes us vulnerable to being imprisoned on those other levels as well, needing the mindless entertainment, needing the addiction, seeking pleasure, instead of nestling in the eternal resonance of love and being satiated with that, and creation from there. Instead of nestling in the highest form of man, the creative man, we are in the contracted form, trying to grab. Because the imagination has done that to us. The imagination can be very positive. But when the intelligence of man is governed by the remembrance, the awakened from the dream to the Eden state, the imagination can be profoundly beautiful. And it can imagine solutions to things. It can build things that benefit the environment, animals, vegetation, and our fellow man. Because the human vehicle that can separate from imagination, concepts and symbols will be hit with a colossal level of unconditioned love vibrating in the cells that's only found in the freedom from the prison of the mind. And so it's not that we don't need imagination, it's a gift. It's that we must have a separation between Eden consciousness and imagination. And our society now does not speak of this. Our society takes people living here and gets young people and brings them here and keeps them there. We don't speak, we don't work towards, we don't educate towards staying rooted with Eden consciousness. It's all about the imagination. And this is why we have now insanity. This is why we have the levels of control that we see around us. The war, the poverty. You have people desperately clambering to fundraise money to help children who are suffering and dying right this instant. Then you have people with endless amounts of money, more than they could spend, sitting dormant in a bank account. And it's not that straightforward, it's not that simple. But how would the world be if we were all connected to Eden consciousness and all those billions of intelligences were being steered towards the will of unconditioned love, that is the state of being, the loving awareness state we feel within them? And so, it's all well said and done speaking of that prison, but how do you get out? Try sitting. Start. I am loving awareness. 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 Keep repeating this. As you do it, as you remind yourself and you remind your carnality, your mind, your imagination, that you can live with the human being that you are, lost in the entanglement of the imagined symbols, words and thoughts that we have created over many generations. Or you can be here now with a still mind, participating in the knife edge of the now, as a human being who is merely lovingly aware, with all the capacities a human has, of all that it is aware of around it. Therefore I love the rain, I love the trees, I love those I am talking to, I love this body, I love the sky, the birds. But there are no words in that awareness. Because to be attentively and lovingly aware of all that is right here, right now, this is where the will of unconditioned love meets your life. And that is, to my experience, where freedom from the prison and all its layers is found. I am loving awareness. I don't think I have any more words. I love you all.